Hello there and welcome to another boring video on this Saturday afternoon. Beautiful weather. Well, the weather guessers didn't lie on this one. Nope, beautiful, beautiful weather. We only got one yard sale this morning. And actually the indoor flea market that they have every Saturday was the second one, but that we don't really count that. There I got a corded phone from my brother because he was having trouble with his landline. I don't think he could use a cell phone. He's worse with the new technology than I am. So he's got a old-fashioned corded phone, you know, desk you pick up and dial, you know, the push button. I paid $1 for it because he'd been having trouble with his telephone, and the last time he had trouble with it, they charged him, I think, $100 or so because it was his phone. And sometimes you pick it up and you go beep, 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 beep. It's like you got the phone off the hook, you know. And the last couple of days it's been working good, but I told him if I locate one at a yard sale, I'll get it for you. So that's what I did. And then we went to another yard sale and bought a few little things, nothing much, just couple dollar items, and that's it. I've been kicking around the idea of building a miniature electric fly swatter by modifying and taking apart the Harbor Freight one. I was kicking around the idea that you know, whether I should do this or not, because you know there are people out there that use these for the wrong reasons. But you're going to get bozos that'll do that anyways, making tasers out of them and everything else. So there's idiots out there, and you're not going to change that. What I want to do, and first of all, let me tell you, I had a viewer on my last video saying my video quality has gone downhill. It's only 480p. Yes, I'm doing WVGA, and this is why I have to repeat myself, because people don't listen or pay attention. Of course, some people may be new to the videos too. There are occasions I'll use HD. If the video's too long, I'm not going to do it because I have problems with rendering. Mostly the problems I have is it takes so damn long. It's a matter of an hour or more just to render a 20-minute or half an hour video in HD, 720p. So what I do, is do WVGA. It goes into Windows Movie Maker and it works very well. Another viewer had mentioned that when I was doing the high voltage test that he didn't see the clip lead on the battery. Well, that's simply because I don't know how to do picture-in-picture, so I can't show you the meter, and then I can't have another video showing the leads going on. So you have to take my word for it. I did put the lead on the battery. But unless I do all this business, which can get nauseating, that's the only way I can do it. So, you know, you have to excuse me. It's very low budget. I'm doing the best I can. So, again, when I do project videos or long flapping videos like I'm doing now, and I try to avoid them, but I have to explain things because sometimes I'm repeating myself on things that I already explained in the past. If the video is 5 or 10 minutes long, I'll use HD. If it's one continuous clip, maybe up to 15 minutes long, and there's not a lot of movement, therefore the video clip won't be as large, I'll use HD. But it all depends on what the video is. If I'm doing close-up work on the bench, you don't need HD. You can, as long as you can see the details. If I'm doing distance shots, yes, it won't be as clear, but it's usable. I've seen videos out there that are in 240p. Horrible, and not worth having up there at all. I think WVGA is a good overall video format that's relatively easy to edit and quick to upload, and the quality looks almost as good as 720p, but not quite, but good enough. So I got to make that point. I didn't want to mention it in the last video because I thought I've been repeating myself too much, but I guess I'm going to have to on each video. This video is long, or will be long. I'm using WVGA, so please understand that. You know, not everybody has very expensive equipment and is able to edit in HD and has all the time in the world to render it and wants to do all kinds of special effects and everything else. I want to get the project done, show you how I do something, and get it out there. As long as you can see it, that's all that matters. Okay, on to the video. I'm going to be out on the bench, and I may or may not put this video up there because I have to find something to make the handle for the little bug zapper I want to make, the modification. What I want to do is take the yellow Harbor Freight one apart, and I want to make another holder for the grids, probably about 4 inches in diameter. That's relatively small, and what I want to do, and I can hear you now, so please, I don't need any comments, but I plan on taking this into McDonald's when there's pesky flies, and if they're pestering me around the table, I'm going to be using it. I want it small, I want high voltage, and I want it to zap. But I have to control the zap. I can't have it make a lot of loud noises. It is not something that I would be taking into an ordinary restaurant. But you do at times, not all the time, but at times you do get pesky flies buzzing around your food when you're trying to eat. And this is one way I can eliminate them. So I can hear some of you haters out there saying it's unsanitary. Yes, it's unsanitary. I'm not going to go and blast around the food. I'll cover my food. Nobody's sitting around me. If I'm alone in there and I'm off to the side, I'm going to pesky fly, bing, you're gone. That's what I'm using it for. It's a small area, less noticeable, and I want to try to make a short handle. The handle is on the yellow one is way too long. The high voltage oscillator and step-up transformer and capacitors and so forth are on a board that's 2 inches long and 3/4 inch square, because I already measured them. The handle is 1.5 inches outside diameter. I already measured that on the Harbor Freight. It's too big around. It doesn't need to be that big around, except for holding the 2 AA's. I have to find a way of shortening it, because I don't want a handle this long with a grid about 4 inches in diameter sitting on top of it. So I gotta figure a way to do that. And then I want to make a voltage doubler and increase the voltage approximately 2 times. Because I just took this thing out just now before I started this video, and it doesn't even zap. You saw what it did on the video here last night when I made it, but it does not zap. So I don't even know if it kills bugs or not. I think the voltage is too low, and for that particular type of zapper, the grids are probably too far apart, and the bug is too small to come in contact with the center grid. You have 3 grids. You have the 2 outside ones, which are at the same potential, and you have the hot one. So whether it be negative or positive, that don't matter. So you have a high voltage potential between this one and this one, and this one and this one. But if you were to touch the outside grids with the thing on, you're not going to get zapped, because these 2 are at the same potential. But my feeling is that the voltage isn't high enough on the zapper that when a little bug gets in there and goes through the grid, it will go through and maybe hit this grid, but doesn't sit in between where it could get zapped. If it sits on this one and doesn't contact this one with the wings or anything else, it's not going to get zapped. Unless you have a high enough voltage to go make the jump from the center grid to the outer grid via the wings or whatever. So a B, of course, there hasn't been any around yet, so I couldn't try it out on that. So that's the story there. I'm talking too long. But what I'm going to do on this video is to give you the start of the project. I've got a piece of 1/4-inch Luan on the bench outside, and it's about 5 inches wide and about 13 inches long. I can cut that in half, take my Harbor Freight hole saw. I think the largest one is 5 inches. Cut the outer circle, and then take the smaller Harbor Freight hole saw and cut the center hole. I will show you outside what I'm going to be doing. We're going to use 1/4-inch Luan, and there'll be 2 pieces sandwiched together with the center grid in the middle and the 2 outer grids on the outside, and the thickness will be about the same as what the Harbor Freight is. The spacing between the inner grid and both outer grids will be approximately the same. Let's go outside. Okay, I have here a piece of 1/4-inch Luan. It's 5 inches wide. I'm going to make sure it's the same. Yep. And 13.5 inches long. Now this is the, let's make sure I'm in camera. This is the high voltage supply out of the first Harbor Freight that I scrapped. It's 2 inches long, 3/4 inches high, and 3/4 inches wide. This handle on this Harbor Freight is designed to hold 2 AA's, and the high voltage unit is right in here. And what I would like to do is this part here will be removed, but I would like to be able to put that, sandwich that in here after I make the 2 pieces that I want to make to replace this. Now, on the first Harbor Freight, it was identical to this, except that the first one had 2 D cells. I saved the grids, and I also saved these pieces here. This center piece with the circle and the lightning bolt. I saved all that, as well as the 3 grids, the 2 outers and the center one. And so actually I don't have to scrap this part at all because I have all the pieces. Now the thickness of this is 1/8 inch or thereabouts. So 2 of these on top of each other with the center grid in the middle between them 2 will give me approximately a 4-inch in diameter hole. I'll have to find out exactly what size my largest Harbor Freight, am I in camera? Yeah. My largest Harbor Freight hole saw is. I think it's 5 inches, thereabouts. The Harbor Freight ones aren't, the hole saws aren't very good. They dull out even on soft wood like this. But I need to cut 2 circles a large one, as large as I can get it, up to 5 inches, and then the middle one. So what I'll have is a border, hopefully about 3/4 of an inch, on which I can lay the center grid, but keeping it so it doesn't overhang and stick out on the sides. And then lay out the outer grid on one side, lay the outer grid on the other side. The only thing I have to figure out is how to cover up the outer edges. And I may have to go into another piece of wood to make the outside, and that would force me to get a very thick looking unit. But one thing at a time. Let's get the hole saws out. Alright, this is 5 inches. The largest one is 5 inches. It's going to be very difficult to use a battery operated drill to do that, but my intention is pull out all these here, and this one I never used. I'll take you over here. Sorry about the camera movement, sometimes you have to do that. Okay, so this is going to be the outside diameter of the bug whacker, so I'll set that so that I get the maximum size and least amount of wood waste. This will be cut. I could use a saber saw, but I'll try this first and see how well it works. So I'm going to cut one out, cutting the outer circle first. If you cut the inner circle first, you're screwed. Then the second one will be down here, so that becomes 2 pieces. In addition to that, I have to allow, so what we do is we come down here, so we make one at this end, and that will allow a tail to go into here if I use this handle. But either way, whether I use this handle or make one, and it's going to be difficult to make it like they have it, I would like to be able to use this handle if this handle was shorter. Maybe I can shorten it, but I doubt I'll be able to fasten it together successfully. It's just that it's so big, so long. But having a tail on this will allow me to fasten it to the handle. So let me get started on this. Alright, I got a table tripod here, so it might vibrate a little bit, and I'll have no way of knowing how the video looks until I play it back. We're going to try it with the D.I.Y, the battery operated, but I doubt it's going to do it because it's an awful strain on a battery operated drill at a hole saw of 5 inches in diameter. But we'll start out with that. That's a good size hole saw, very big. So what we need to do is to get this centered. Well, that ends that. We got to charge that battery. Alright, we're going to try it again with a fresh battery. But if it's too much of a strain, we'll use the electric one, which I really should do anyways. With a hole saw this size. got it, actually. We did get it. We just have to trim it up a little bit. It'll do it. Now, I needed to tighten this clamp down more. This is a Harbor Freight clamp, a 12-inch deep throat clamp. This is what I bought the other day at Harbor Freight. It just happened to be something I spotted, and I could have used it on a picnic table project. So I need to clamp that down tighter, but that's not a problem. I can take my wood rasp and very gently clean this off. So the next hole will be a smaller one in diameter here, but I'll have to be very careful when I secure this down not to have it spin. So what we got to do here is reapply the clamp and we got to go over here. I was trying not to put it real tight to dig into the wood, but now I have a heavy-duty electric Black & Decker, probably 50 years old electric drill that I got at a yard sale. It's got the handle on it, and as hard as I hold that, when I had a 4-inch hole saw drilling for in a door, it took the thing right out of my hand, and it kept on going because it doesn't have a safety on it. It took that drill right out of my hand. I just spun around like that. So this actually come out of my hand too. So no matter how tight you hold on to these things, you can lose control of them. Now, let's make sure that's tight. See, it comes right out of my hand. No matter how tight I hold it. It's for that reason I won't use that heavy duty one. So. That is tricky. This is all loose again. Try to slow it down a slower speed here. Really need a drill press for this. It's much, much better. But it would take me a long time to set it up. Angle out that way. It's almost through, just in this area here.
It's not the battery, I'm running it on a slow speed. I gotta dig this out with a screwdriver. Okay, this is the 5-inch hole saw right here. This is the 4-inch hole saw. Let me get my finger up in there. Now, this is the 5 and this is the 4-inch. If I was to use the 4-inch, I would have probably a 1/2 inch on each side, and that's not counting the blade cut. So I would not have very much surface area to mount the grids on. So what I'm going to do, and the next size down would be 3.5. So the grid, so that it's going to be a little smaller, but that's okay. So now we got a lot of surface area here between the outer rim and the hole to mount the grids. And I would probably say I should have at least 3/4 of an inch after the blade's cut. So we're going to use the 3.5 inch for the center hole, which will be cut out like that. So there should be at least 3/4 of an inch left over. This is going to be real hard to secure this to the bench without spinning out, and I may even wreck it trying to cut. Okay, what I did here is I put the two pieces together, the 2/4 inch Luan cutouts. They are perfectly centered, and I put 3 number 4 nails in here into some scrap 2x8s, and the cutout, this part will be cut out in the middle anyway, so that doesn't matter. So the only hazard I would have would be that the outer things could swing around and maybe break. You know, the rings, because I want 2 rings out of this. So I can't clamp this down with this clamp. This clamp ain't, this is 12-inch deep throat, but it isn't deep enough this way. So we're going to have to clamp this whole shebang with another clamp here. We'll do that off camera. And we'll give it a try here and see if I can get this to stay good without flying all over the place. Damn, that drew me right out of there. Better. It literally threw me right out of the hole here. Threw the drill right up in the air. I don't know what's doing this thing. Looks straight. I shouldn't do that. I may not be able to do this. And I would hate to do it by hand. It's going to look like hell. Chinese crap steel. The bit got bent. And there's a little notch in the drill bit down at the bottom where the set screw goes, and it's definitely in that notch, so I'm going to have to put a regular drill bit in here, see if I can continue. That's the crappy junk that Harbor Freight sells. Steel is soft. It's either too soft or it snaps. It's too hard. You might be able to see that little notch down at the bottom. That's where the set screw goes. I know I can't get you a close-up, but let's do the best we can. So I'm going to have to find out what size this is and put a conventional bit in there and continue. Alright, I got a conventional bit in there. A little longer than I like it to be. This is a one of them Home Depot specials there. I don't know how well I'm going to be able to do. But let's go slow. We just start out until we come to the surface of the wood, because we got to drill down through. Purposely going slow here. We don't want to have the drill come out of control again, so we're going to have to do that. careful I don't gun it too much here. Really should have used a drill press for this, as I said, but it's a long, tedious job. Man. All right, we'll have to set it up in the drill press. So my problem is going to be holding this steady. I can probably bring the clamp out and clamp it to this somehow. So let me get this up in there. It's squeaking in there somehow. Alright, there's like ribs all around here, and it's from the first cut. And that's what that noise is. What? Shouldn't make that noise like that though. It is cutting down. Shouldn't do that. I got the first one cut out. It came out good. But why is it making that noise? It's not hitting the nails because the nails are a good 3/8 of an inch away from the edge, and there's no nails underneath it. If there was nails that didn't get down that far, I don't know why it's doing that. Damn it, it's loose again. This nut keeps loosening up. Alright. That's a lot better. The nut keeps loosening up on the arbor. There it is. Oh, wrong switch. All right. We got our second donut made.
Donut.
Okay. Success. All right. We got two donut holes here. 3.5 inch center. 5-inch outside, but you can see what happened is, well, I got the hole saw still on the drill press, is that nut keeps loosening no matter how tight I make it. And that's what my problem was. So I guess it was bouncing up and down, and I was wondering why it was wobbling, and I checked it, but it was tight one time and then it loosened right up. And that's the problem I have with hole saws, they of that type. Anyways, the center grid goes in between these sandwiches here, and the two outer grids go on the outside.
This video is very long, and again, I will repeat, I'm using WVGA. Because the video is too long. I want to show you everything and how I do things. The drill press is a lifesaver, but my problem was I wasn't aware that they're not loosened up, because it didn't feel like it was loose, but then when I checked again, it became very loose. Well, I blame it partly on the drill bit that came on Harbor Freight. It's got warped, it got bent, very, very easily got bent. So I had to use a longer bit, and then that was too long. I couldn't get my work underneath the drill press without dropping the table, which can be done, but I got to move 100 things in the back of it to get at the locking clamp and lower it. So I dug through my box of drill bits that I've had for, I'd say, 25, 30 years. Anytime I go to a yard sale, I pick them up, and I found some short ones like this that are made for that, with the little flat spot on it for the Allen wrench. And I found the right size, American made, of course. So that took care of the wobbling problem. All right, we're going to finish this up off camera, but this is going to be the end of part number 1, because there's a lot of work to doing something like this, and wood is the only thing I could really work with. I couldn't work with plastic. I'd crack it trying to saw it and everything else.
Or metal.
You can't use metal. We're working with couple thousand volts here. Metal is conductive. Cannot use metal. There's got to be an insulator. So wood is not the best insulator, but if it's kept dry, it's a good insulator for this application. And what I will probably do is to paint it. Not 100% sure though, because if it's kept dry, I don't need to worry about it. But anyways, I'm going to do all this off camera. I got a lot of finishing up to do on this. But before we go, let me show you the grids. I'm going to bring them out from the workshop. All right, the first Harbor Freight that I took apart, I saved the grids. These are the outer grids. Now these are aluminum, so if you do modify one, make a small like I'm making, you want to keep this little thing on here. You can't solder to aluminum unless you got aluminum solder. But I don't think aluminum solder will go on to copper. So you have to make some kind of a thing to go through here, or wrap your wire around here and twist it and solder on the twist of the copper wire itself. The inner grid is a lot thinner and finer than the outer grid. So this will be cut down to size. This will be like this, with the inner grid in the middle. And then the outer grid will be cut to size and put on the outside. When I put this on, it's very important that I cut back the center grid so that there will be no center grid protruding from the edge of this. 2 reasons. One, you'll get zapped from it. Second of all, you could get cut on the sharp edges. Now I could have used a smaller hole saw, which would have given me a bigger area to mount the grids, but you don't want anything too small because you're not going to be able to hit the fly. You're sitting at your table, you're only going to have a 5-inch in diameter with an effective 3.5-inch center, and that's the area where you're going to have to hit the fly. So the chances of hitting the fly is a lot less than with this. So anyways, also I saved the centerpiece from the Harbor Freight, and this is where the center grid, the high voltage grid, was sandwiched in, like that. I was going to make something using this, but the border is so thin, it's impractical to work. You need a border at least this wide, and what I'll probably use is hot glue to hold it in. Hot glue, yeah. Okay, so that's it. We'll put these away, and we'll join you on probably part 2, but I don't know when that's going to be because I have a lot of work to do to make a handle for this. I neglected to do one thing. You remember me telling you that I wanted a tail on this? I didn't make the tail. I did not make the tail, so now I got my work cut out for me to figure out how I'm going to mount a handle on this, because I did not make a tail on this. And in order to make a tail on this, I would not have been able to use the 5-inch hole saw. I probably would have been better off using the saber saw. It wouldn't have been as perfectly round. But I'll figure something out. I usually do. Catch you on another video, but I don't know when now. So, so don't be in too much of a hurry. As the old saying goes, Rome was not built in a day. Have a good day, everybody. Enjoy the weekend.